Hello, my name is Maria Fernanda, and I'm the host of IO Scholarship Superheroes podcast.
Easy, easy, so easy.
This podcast is only a 10-minute podcast that highlights the best kept secret of IO scholars, job recruiters, and community influencers. And most importantly, we want to provide you financial resources to go to college debt-free and become financially savvy. Hola, everyone. Welcome to another episode of IO Scholarship Superheroes podcast, the podcast where students, innovators, and STEM leaders share powerful insights and tips in less than 10 minutes. Let's get started. Today's guest is Rob Cancio. He's currently completing a 5-year program in Biomedical Engineering at the University of Miami, where he will receive his master's degree this May. He's also the director of product development at Sivotec, and through his work there, he has helped diagnose more than 160,000 children with rare diseases across 40 countries, supporting over 1,600 geneticists across the world. He's also a 2-time tech startup co-founder, a holder of multiple healthcare and biotech patents, a member of the Association of Cuban-American Engineers, a recipient of the Texas Instruments Scholarship, and if that wasn't impressive enough, he's also a 2-time US rowing national champion. Right now, he's working on developing Neuro-Symbolic Artificial Intelligence for clinical decision support systems, helping advance the future of AI in medicine. We are excited to have him here today. Hi, Rob.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Yeah, it's wonderful to be here.
So, yes, I see a beautiful view, Miami University.
Yes, University of Miami. Yes, I found the best possible view I could get, as I just love. I'm all about the U, so.
That's amazing. Well, to start, tell us about your journey into biomedical engineering and what inspired you to pursue both your bachelor's and master's at the University of Miami.
Sure. So I'll give you the whole story as fast as I can, I suppose. So since I was a little kid, I always knew I wanted to help people, right? I wanted to be a firefighter when I was little, then I wanted to be a doctor, then a physicist. And what ended up happening is I was graduating college, I ended up deciding, where to go to university. And I actually did not start at the University of Miami. I started at MIT, believe it or not. And while I was there, I was studying finance and biology, and I was going to graduate in 3 years. So I was doing a lot of intense work. My freshman year was COVID as well. And really, I hated the cold. I'm from Miami, right? So I'm very much used to the intense heat and humidity. And to make matters worse, I just was very unsatisfied with my career path going into finance, right? Because I'd end up working on Wall Street and essentially not really fulfilling my lifelong dream of helping people. And if I were to even achieve that, it would be many years, decades, until I could actually make an impact. And so being really unsatisfied with my career path as well as just the school, I decided that I'll take a gap year from MIT and stay in Miami with my family. I'm Cuban, so it's very important to me to be with my family. And in that gap year, I did a lot of thinking, a lot of self-reflection, and worked on myself a lot. I also was a DJ and music producer, which was a fun little era of mine, I suppose. And I really learned that I should pursue, my dreams, my passions, because if I wasn't pursuing something that I really liked and cared about, then I wouldn't be happy. I wouldn't be able to show up every day and really push myself, right? So I said, hey, I'm going to pursue my passions regardless of the monetary aspect, right? And I knew that I'd be most productive in an environment that I was happy in. And while COVID was going on, while I was doing MIT online, I'd actually spend a lot of time on the campus of the University of Miami. And I quickly realized that I just loved being here on campus, being in the sun, seeing all the happy people walking around all the time. And so I ended up making the decision to transfer to the University of Miami. And now, coming up May, I'll be a double cane, right? Which is a huge deal. I have a lot of family members who are, alumni as well. My sisters were going at the University of Miami, and I was kind of the black sheep who wasn't. And so it's just been amazing to be able to be a part of the community, especially one of which I grew up, less than 5 minutes from campus. I could walk to campus, which is pretty crazy. So that's a big reason as to why the reason as to why I'm here at UM.
That's such an empowering message that you're delivering, because basically it's so important to find your happy place where, you decided to switch careers. By the way, I always wanted to be a DJ too, but it's never late. But, your career in finance, and then you decided to pursue actually a career that make a lot of impact. I mentioned before that, the impact that you make with children nationwide, with children with rare diseases, that's a real impact that you are making nationwide. So, and in other countries. So you're finishing your master's this May while also serving as the director of product development at Sivotec, a company that I believe in, and the leadership. You're part of the leadership. So how did that opportunity come about?
Yeah, first and foremost, it's because of the amazing community here at UM. It almost sounds like I'm doing an advertisement for UM, but I just absolutely love the school. And what happened is that both Pete Martinez, the CEO of Sivotec, as well as my mother, were both electrical engineering alumni at the University of Miami. So they met each other at an alumni event. And she had basically mentioned that she had a son in biomedical engineering. Pete said, "Hey, I have a biotech company, and I would love to talk to your son. He's an incredible mentor and wants to always help bring up the people around him in the community." And he gave my mother his number. And I remember I called him like the next day. And the first words he said to me when I called him were, "Wow, no one ever calls me," And so I think obviously I got very lucky, but two, I very much believe in, if you don't shoot a shot, you'll never make it, right? So if you're given an opportunity and you have no clue where it's going to go, just go for it. You have nothing to lose, right? And that turned into speaking with Pete, once every 2 or 3 weeks, asking him for advice on, hey, should I study this? Should I look into this? And eventually, he started asking me questions about what I thought about the biotech space, about the market, where it's going, the future. And next thing led to another. I was an intern, right? And then from an intern to a project manager, developing Gina Screen, which will be rolled out worldwide soon, as well as, from there going into a product manager role, working on Gnostics, our little project that we might talk about a little bit later in this podcast. But again, none of that would have ever happened had I not put myself out there. And I think a lot of people are scared, especially in today's day and age where we're always behind screens, to make a phone call, to talk to someone, in a room that you don't know. But realistically, you have nothing to lose. You'll be in the same exact place as you started.
I completely agree on the importance of mentors, and that actually Pete Martinez, is part of the leadership of the company that you believe in. And again, it's so impressive that through your work, you have diagnosed 160,000 children with rare diseases across 40 countries. This is going global. And what does that impact mean to you personally?
Like I said at the very beginning, I have always wanted to help people. I think that there is, anything is possible. And I think one of the things that we often forget is that we can help people and make money at the same time, right? And so my goal always in my entire life is, how do we help people make prices in any type of healthcare segment lower, and make access to healthcare, a lot wider for everyone. And so by doing Gina Test and now Gina Screen, that's exactly what we've been doing. It's lowering the price of genetic testing, lowering the diagnostic odyssey. And it means a lot to me because, I have I actually had a buddy growing up who had a rare disease, right? And I've seen the struggles personally with, growing up with that. And there are so many people I've met personally, even myself, where I go to the doctor and they have no clue what's going on, right? And so being able to help children who are confused, worried, the parents are, oftentimes rare diseases, they split up families, right? The diagnostic odyssey is 5 to 7 years, and you spend tens, hundreds of thousands of dollars, and the family might not have that amount of money. Actually, more often, they probably don't. And, this is a serious problem that affects, I believe, 300 million people around the world is how many people have Mendelian genetic disorders. So to me, it feels good, but I'm also always thinking about what's next, right? Because if I stopped at, 160,000, there's still, 300 million people out there, right? So feels great, but it's not over.
Visit IO Scholarships, as we have access to thousands of STEM scholarships based on your unique ethnic background, waiting for you today. Some of them only require 2.5 GPA and no essay. Remember, the more you apply, the more chances you have to win. Apply today. The impact that you are creating, the good impact in terms of trying to help parents that they are desperate for solutions. As you said, the diagnose could take years, and with AI and the platform that you're building with Sivotec leaders, you are able to streamline that process to seconds. So that means like less stress for the parents in trying to figure out how to help their kids with this problem. And then again, it's just I'm so glad that you went for your passion and your true core of helping other people. Is important, and there are so many. I went to Davos, and there is so much dialogue about AI and so forth, but there is not so much to say about the positive things of AI and how it can solve like biogenetic, and rare diseases. So tell me a little bit more about what you are working on to get to the next level.
Of course. Yeah, there is a lot of doomer conversations about AI. There's also a lot of hype about artificial intelligence and its possibilities, what it can do. Like, you have certain CEOs going out and saying it's going to cure cancer, it's going to do all these incredible things. I think there's a misalignment with what artificial intelligence can actually do in its current state versus what people think it can do. And I also think we're a little bit bullish on the timeline of these things. So what I'm working on specifically is something called Neuro-Symbolic Artificial Intelligence. And so these are the next steps, or one of, if here's your LLM, right? There's many different types of offsprings of what you can do, right? Base AI, many different offsprings, like a web. And so Neuro-Symbolic Artificial Intelligence is one of them. Why that's so important, especially for healthcare, is because you need to combine the flexibility, which is the neuro part, it's your perception layer, of this natural language that's extremely diversified across healthcare. Right? A doctor might say SOB for shortness of breath. Another one might just say shortness of breath, difficulty breathing, or dyspnea, which is the correct technical term. So how do you handle that flexibly? Next step is, hey, I have all this information. How do I handle it to make sure that a couple things, that it's explainable, there's no hallucinations, there's no variance. If I put in X, I always get Y, right? And that it is very fast for the user. Currently in the market, they're using large language models, anything transformer based, right, for that. And they're saying, hey, it's a reasoning model. But the reality is that really it doesn't solve any of those key metrics. I said those three things: variance, hallucinations, and explainability, right? Your transformer models are not able to have the same output every single time, unless you set your temperature to 0, which is a fancy technical term, right? They have hallucinations. We know this, but most importantly, they have a black box nature. So if you're the doctor and you might ask, hey, how did this, I put in X, I got Y, how? The model might say, well, it's kind of because of this and kind of because of that, but it has no clue. And so you want to be able to, especially from a legal standpoint, be able to explain, hey, we gave this recommendation to your patient based off of these metrics. And this is exactly how we did it. And if you did it again, you'd get the same result. And you don't have that in healthcare right now. And I think it's a little bit irresponsible and dangerous, because you're going to end up having cases where patients are over tested, they are incorrectly diagnosed. And I could keep talking about this issue, but the key is, how do you create a deterministic system that's flexible? And that's what we're doing.
Excellent. And I think it's so key, the partnerships that you have. And that's what's really your value proposition for Sivotec. All the partners that, and the labs that you created partnerships, and also Hopkins and all these big names in the healthcare industry that believe in this platform. So Rob, tell us a little bit more about where does, you hold multiple patents in healthcare and biotech. So where do your ideas for innovation usually come from?
Yeah, so my ideas for innovation usually come from problems that I see that are right in front of me. And I know that's like kind of a stereotypical answer, but it's the truth. So what happens is that I do this mostly with doctors, right? Like I walk into the doctor's office and I'm like, oh, wow, this is interesting. This is a cool endoscope. This is a cool tool. I wonder if we can make this better. Or I had, to wait at the doctor's office for this amount of time. Or heck, I'm in traffic, or I'm using an app or something. And so I think it's there's like two steps you kind of have to do when it comes to coming up with these ideas for patents and for solving problems, right? And that eventually turns into companies. That is saying, one, can I observe the problem, right? Is there a problem there? Oh, look, there's a problem, cool. But most people stop at that and they say, oh, I have a good idea, and we don't go from there. What's really important is to almost become obsessed and a detective, right? I think the most important thing is a detective. When you're in the process of creating a patent that you really want to make sure that it's very well protected and really solves the problem, you need to do the research. And it's not doing the research online, unfortunately. It is very much like, hey, how do I get access to the operating room in my local hospital? What forms do I need to sign? I remember I had to do that with Baptist, and it was a lengthy process where I even had to go to the police station and guarantee that, that I'm not a criminal. They needed professional documentation for that. But, that's what I did just to show up. And once I was there, I was going into, these ORs and, the different, I guess I don't want to give away any secrets because, I'm working on this proprietarily, but, working in the OR and other departments of the hospital on my birthday. And to me, it's just like, be a detective. I think in another lifetime I might be. I love Sherlock. I love Batman, and if you're not a detective, you don't actually end up learning the problems. And that's actually, you need to figure out those problems before you even think of a solution. As engineers, it's so easy to think of a solution all the time, right? But if you do that, you stunt your growth because you don't really understand what the user needs. You don't really understand the problem.